Hello, my wonderful friends. Meg is here on a beautiful day. Welcome back to the library. My heart is so full right now. As I was putting this video together, I was looking for different books I needed for it, and I was looking for Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, and I couldn't find it. And it's a small book. I thought, well, maybe it's fallen behind, or maybe it's just out of sight. And so I dug through the whole shelves, and I felt a sense of loss and grief when I couldn't find it, because I had such a relationship with that book. You know, I remember being out on my boat on the ocean and sitting out in the sun and reading that over and over again. It had become a companion and a friend. And I felt this grief and loss when I couldn't find it. And then it started making me think about, do you remember we talked about Frederick Bachman's My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry? And that special relationship between grandchildren and grandmas. And, you know, even though my grandma is not here in physical form, she's with me right here in my heart. And I thought about that. I might not have the physical copy of that book, and it did make me really sad. But I have it in my heart. I have those memories that will stay with me forever. You know, I think about my grandma, and I shared this with you. She would hug me so hard it hurt. Right? She would do these pecks on top of my head, kisses, because she wanted that love that I would remember it. She would put her love into songs. She would sing me songs about how much I loved her. I remember falling asleep at night holding her hand. And then I did that with my children. And I passed those things on to my children. And though my grandma might not be in form, her spirit lives right here and always will. And what got me thinking about this, I was putting together books that just live with you, that are so ingrained in us. And some of these books might seem silly to you, but they mean the world to me. Jimmy Buffett. These books lived with Ernest Hemingway, The Old Man and the Sea, on my boat. You know, and I made my living out on the ocean, on the sea. And this book here, it's actually, let me show you, falling apart. The pages are falling out. It's crusty. It's salty. It's mildewy. But I couldn't get rid of it. I actually bought new copies that are untouched to put on my shelves, but I couldn't actually throw these ones out because they were too special. Something about it, I felt wrong when I walked to the trash with these. I couldn't do it. My friends, so instead I just got some Lysol and sprayed them and put them back on the shelves with my new copies. And just the memories we make with these, it's more than just reading the books. I remember reading my Jimmy Buffett's out on the boats, and I had Jimmy Buffett music playing. And I remember, let me show you this. Stay with me, guys. I was a young sailor, and so I had this book on knots. And I remember sitting out making different knots, learning different knots, making monkey fist and different hitches, and while listening to Jimmy Buffett and reading about Jimmy Buffett and just losing myself. And I can still so clearly remember the smell of the boats and the dock and the sound of the birds and just the excitement of what's to come, the adventure of life, that this life is truly a gift. So when I look at these books on the shelves, I'm always telling you guys, it's more than books. It's a story of my life. It's my grandma. And I actually grieved today when I couldn't find one of the physical copies of my books, but that memory will live on in my heart forever. My God, I remember being out on the sea. All the things I saw, guys. And I worked on fishing boats. And when I had many jobs, and I'll share some of them with you. But one of the jobs I worked on fishing boats. And I remember you scan the horizon to look for the birds circling. That's where the fish were. That's where there'd be the smaller fish up on the top, and then the big ones would be coming up to feed, and you'd head to the birds. My God, I remember seeing, pods of dolphins, super pods, like I never saw. Thousands. You'd just be going, all of a sudden, thousands. Can you picture thousands of dolphins? It was mind-blowing. And how they would play in my wake. And they'd look up at you, especially off that bow wake. They'd just look up at you with that big smile in that eye. I can still so vividly picture it. It's just beautiful, my friends. And so when I hold these books, it takes me back there. And of course, I got my not books. I've got Treasure Island. Some others. This one here has so much memory. This I found on an old tugboat. I mean, it was something out of a movie. It's marine salvage. And so I was working for a tow company. And our main office was this huge, ancient tugboat. And that was the office. And then we had all of our boats off of it. And this was sitting up in the pilot house. And I was flipping through it. And the owner of the company said, "Hey, go ahead and take that." And so this is, it's a treasured, it's a treasure. It's got such memories for me, my friends. And oh my God, the stories I have from, can I share one with you guys real quick? And then we'll keep talking about books. But so I studied all kinds of navigation. I learned how to navigate by the stars with a sextant, chart out and everything. But we had at the time GPS. And so a lot of times we just rely on that. And one time my GPS went out, and it was a man on a sea-doo. He was, way offshore. He was headed to Catalina Island, which is a pretty deep, dangerous channel, shipping lanes, and he lost power. And then there's quite a current and wind that goes through there, and he was headed south quick. He had his cell phone on him, thank God. And so he called me. I got his Latin long, and then I headed out to him. He was pretty far away, but my GPS went out, and I had to actually go down, pull out my paper charts and plot it. And you had to plot for wind and current and time and distance. And I'll never forget the feeling, because it had been quite a while that I was headed out there. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope I find them. Someone could die out here. People, another job I did burials at sea. A lot of people lost in that channel there. And I was thinking, this guy could die. It's up to me and my ability to chart this to find this guy. And when I saw that little dot on the horizon, I was all, oh, thank you, God. I remember when I pulled up to him, pulled him up on the boat, and I'm tying off his sea-doo, handed him a bottle of water. I remember him still so vividly just lying on the floor of my boat there, and just like, oh, thank God. It's just these memories. And so when I look at these different books, I think of all these different memories. My God, this Chapman's piloting. I've read this cover to cover twice, my friends. And then I'm always, I'm retired now and have other interests, but always just kind of referring to it. And so this book, every time I see it, it's just beautiful, beautiful memories. There's more I want to talk about, but I think I'll say, because this video is probably getting pretty long, but the gist of it is that I wanted you to get is your loved ones, they're never gone. Your grandmas, your parents, family and friends, they live with you forever. Their very frequency and energy becomes one with you. They can never be lost. You feel that? I just felt everyone I love right now at once. So beautiful. All right, guys, before I start blubbering like a baby, I'm going to let you go. But no, Megas, loves you.